So this. All right. Let me also share my screen. Let's see if this works. How it try it. Exactly. There was a problem. Just for a second.
Oh, he did that.
Okay, he's coming back. I think he's just dealing with some technical difficulties.
I'm just trying to share my screen, but I had to give it permission.
Mhm.
So this one. So can you all see it?
Yep.
Yep.
Okay. Great. Yeah, I will try to make the visual thing today as to a minimum because of the setup. But I think it's still good to maybe show something or at least writing down the important parts. Even though it will be a little bit more scuffed because I don't even have a mouse, but it should be okay. All right, then let's start with the lecture for today. Yeah, thank you all for coming, I guess. Last time we made a lecture like last week about kind of what does the coach have to do, what are the job of a coach, and especially also talked a little bit about the position of assistant coach, of head coach, the relationship to the players and to the staff. And today I want to go kind of one more step into this and talk about goal setting. Yeah, basically why, a little bit some topics here, why do you even need goals? What types of goals are appreciated in my opinion? How to find different goals and how to control those goals that you also actually work on them. And then afterwards, as always, we make a small discussion about these topics that maybe also others can show their perspectives, have some ideas about this, and we can just kind of talk about it to hopefully all get better together. As always, the disclaimer at the start, all the things I'm saying here, obviously is it's just comes from my experience. This doesn't mean that this is the only way of doing it. This is, I guess, one possible way of having this coaching approach. At the end of the day, all coaching, all coaches are different, and you need to find your own way of doing things. But I hope with some arguments, I can also show you that the things I'm telling you make sense. And I mean, obviously, I'm using it, and we're also doing this in our containers teams, so it should be fine. Yeah, about questions, I would say we do it the same way as last time, but I feel like this was really well done. That we just that you collect all of the questions you have. Basically, I give you kind of really a presentation right now, just kind of telling you kind of my experience and my way of thinking. Then afterwards, you can ask all the questions that you have about me or about the topic. And afterwards, we also I would like to know kind of how all of you kind of approach this topic and have some thoughts about this. And then yeah, we just go from there. Okay, any questions from the schedule or anything before we start? No? Okay, I guess then everything is clear. All right, then let's start. By the way, again, if there's any problems with you know to understand me correctly, because I don't know anything happens here or we cannot see the screen, please tell me because I'm a little bit in the dark on both these things. Okay, then let's start with the first thing, the first point, and basically my first question I want to talk about. Oh god, maybe I'm just writing. Now let's see. Let's see how this works. Hopefully, I get a little bit better with the mouse pad over time. um, is why even setting goals. I think there's, let's say, 5 good reasons why a goal setting is important. And like I said, later on we also go and like what it actually is and stuff like this. But I think it's important to first of all have the idea, okay, like how does it even help? And goals, obviously, like we can talk about the different types of goals. We want to, I know this with Sonic from or what I know. I think you need to goals for yourself to push you in what you want to do. Well, let's say, yeah, to be honest. Yep. Basically, first,
Oh. He was cutting out a bit for me.
Yeah, Thor, you're lagging a bit.
I'm gonna say he's not here anymore.
Oh, Sama.
Mecha,
He
can you
lagged out.
change the server region, Mecha?
Yeah, I'll change
Like,
it
as in
to.
the channel region.
I'll
Wait,
change
I
it
can
to EU.
Yeah, that might help him because he's from Germany, so it's
Mhm.
a long way.
Hi, Sama.
Hello.
Alright.
POV, you're on the beach trying to connect to NA servers.
POV, he's streaming with 300 ms. Guys. Mecha, while you're here, do you happen to know anybody that's like happy just to edit a quick video? This might interest
I mean,
you.
I can.
I
Send it to me. I can edit quick.
If you just want to take my like stream and just cut bits where I'm talking about useless shit out, and then I can give you access to my channel to upload it.
so just mute the whole thing. It'll be fine.
Yeah, mute the whole thing, right?
I mean, I could. Wanted me. Currently,
Yeah, if
I'm
you
trying
could.
to get snipes and facial. Pretty. I can put faster reveal for them.
Welcome back.
I'm back. Yeah.
Willkommen, willkommen.
But everything until this point was fine, right?
It's a bit laggy.
I guess.
You were cutting in and out, but I changed the server region to Europe.
Yeah,
Should
maybe
be better.
hopefully it's better like this. Let me just share again. And we just keep going there. Yeah. Okay, so basically, like my first point, also to make it a little bit more clear and less talking around the point, is I think goals are important to push yourself forward, to show a way, and or like a better way to find a way, and make it more specific. Because without a goal in the first place, how do you know kind of what you have to do to reach this one? And obviously, like how do you find out like what do I have to do to reach OD? I mean, obviously in this case you can just look at other teams, look at contenders teams, maybe even look at Overwatch League teams if you want to like look this high. It's like what are they doing? Like why are they winning? Fights? Why are they playing so well? And trying to accomplish this on your own, or like at least mimic it, and see improvement points that you can make as a team or as an individual. And the second thing is when you have a goal, it helps you to define success, right? What I mean with this is, obviously, like this is more like for maybe a little bit smaller goals than just kind of thinking about like winning OD. But let's say, you know, I want to get better as my Hanzo Sonic Arrow. I don't know, as if this is a goal. Then with this goal that you set for yourself, you also have a definition for success, or you should make a definition for success. Like, what does it mean? Is it like, okay, is it as a Hanzo, I actively work on this until I find a point of it being good. So basically, like define this good, you know, because a lot of times, like what I mean is like a lot of times I hear players and they say like, yeah, I was working on my positioning, I was working on my or like teams, I was working on our communication, but when is it done? You know, like what's the definition of done? And it's not, please don't say it as like, yeah, we have a better feeling of it, or like, you know, like in ranked, like, yeah, I just feel like I'm better, or like I die less. Like dying in Overwatch has so many components, not just complete positioning. So how can you like define this? It's obviously not easy because sadly in Overwatch we don't have that many statistics. But I think it comes down to a mixture of obviously your opinion, obviously hopefully as subjective as possible and not so many feel emotions there. So basically reviewing yourself again, setting the same level of expectations for like the initial review. You can still hear me? Yeah.
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 Also, did I cut out right now?
No, you're good.
Okay, then some like maybe I have just the. I always hear like this Discord sound when somebody joins and leaves, I guess. But okay. So yeah, getting back to my point, defining like the definition of done, when do you accomplish it, when not, and this comes down to a combination of like, okay, do I think it's better with actually like looking it up. So basically going to your own replay after you feel like, hey, I'm better now, looking at your own replay, looking at the situations. Is it something that you still do or not? Yeah, making sure that this is also like they set this kind of state before. For example, like let's make it easy. For example, aiming. You know, you want to have like a 50%. Or you want to improve your aim. This is kind of your goal. Then set this definition of done. Okay, I need to have a aim percentage over then I don't know 60% hit rate or whatever it is. And so before you actually start practicing, you know kind of what you practice for. And it's obviously the same as for team goals. You know, like if we say about like, hey, we want to improve our communication. First of all, communication is a bad goal because it's so big, the topic. So let's say we want to always have a fight plan. Okay, then this is the goal. Then I want to have a full scrim where we always have a fight plan in every fight. You know, and this is kind of then you can if just as long as this doesn't happen, you know, there, and then you have to obviously keep working on this goal. Okay. Third point is goals help you to hold accountable. So yeah, obviously it all ties a little bit together in this cases. But if let's say we have a scrim and our goal is to work on our communication, aka working on our that we have like every fight a plan, then we should define this in a way of okay, like who is responsible for this? Like, is it, for example, the fight planner, or like do we have like somebody, one specific guy who is making the fight plans? Then okay, like it's his job to do it. Or like in the best, I mean, better case, in my opinion, is like everybody helps to do a fight plan. Okay, then, but then everybody has like this pressure on himself that he needs to hold himself accountable. If you don't have a fight plan like right now, why have you said something? You know. So basically, obviously you're not doing this in the game, but you can do it really well afterwards in a review. You just kind of show them the communication and say, okay, we didn't have a fight plan here. Then I mean, Sigma, we wanted to use your ultimate, or you wanted to use your ultimate. Why don't you kind of plan around us? Why don't you say like, where do you use your ultimate? You know, like hold him accountable for it. Or depending on how your structure is, if you say like, okay, we have a, you know, like only one guy who's responsible of this, then it's him. Or like maybe obviously like again, different example would be more individual things of, I don't know, I need to communicate when I go for a flank. If this is your goal for this scrim, then like you are responsible for this, in this case, just you. So make sure that if this does not happen, show him or tell him like, hey, guy, like, why haven't you done it? You know, there shouldn't be like any or like too many not expectations. How's the word? When you don't do something, exceptions. It's not too many exceptions for this. I mean, obviously it depends a little bit on the goal. Okay, then and the last one is obviously, or like no, two more. Like first, the fourth one is perhaps communication between the teams, because everybody is on the same kind of has the same idea in mind. Why are they doing these things? Because a lot of times, again, when I go to different tier three or other teams, it's like, yeah, they say, okay, like we are scrimming now, but like I was asking, okay, like what's your goal? Like why are you scrimming? And they're like, yeah, that's to get better. Okay, but this is like so vague, right? Like it's not. Yeah, like they don't even know what they're going to get better. Maybe there's one guy wants to improve on their, or like he thinks the most important thing to improve right now is, I don't know, how we take angles in the spam comp. The other guy thinks, yeah, no, we should work on our brawl, whatever. You know, like there are just two different ideas of how to improve. And if you talk about like, hey guys, just make the question like, what is our goal today, or like how we want to improve? This already helps immensely the communication for the whole team. Okay, like this is kind of our setting for the day. This is what we want to work on, and easily we're on the same page. I'm not talking about like half an hour discussion about goals. I'm talking about like 5 minutes before saying, okay, like what do you want to improve on? And then the last thing is the most obvious thing in my opinion. Well, so it obviously helps you to because if you have a goal and you define this in like smaller pieces, you know, like you want to first do this and this and this and this, and at the end of the day you win OD or something like this. If you reached the first milestone, I mean, how good does it feel, right? Like how good does it feel when your team can say, hey, over this full week or over the sprint we worked on this and we accomplished it. Like it's just such a satisfying feeling to have. And if you, yeah, kind of if you have one goal at the first place, getting this kind of motivation from it also afterwards is great. Obviously, yes, there is also a little bit of a downside that if you don't accomplish it, I mean, obviously you don't feel so good, I guess, but at least you have a good representation of why this happens. You know, it's not just, oh shit, we got rolled today. Okay, like why did we got rolled, or like what was our goal? Our goal was kind of, I don't know, working on the communication. Okay, we got rolled, but still we accomplished our goal, so we should feel good about ourselves. It's not about winning in this case. Okay, so this kind of answers a little bit the question of why having goals is important in my opinion. Let's talk a little about let me just draw it like this. Okay. The types of goal, different types of goals. Wait, how can I move? No, I will just make it somehow. No. Okay, never mind. Yeah, let's talk about different types of goal. So I think, generally speaking, there are, let's say, 3 different types. The first thing is, I mean, yeah, super easy, long term, then middle, and short. So long term is obviously like this overall goal of the team. Like why are we sitting? Like why are we coming together each week or each day and scrim together? Because we want to be a competitive team. Okay, then what is our competitive goal? We want to, I don't know, get to contenders. We want to win OD. Whatever. This could be your easy long term solution. or you can also say, hey, we want to accomplish in this tournament. Like we work on this tournament which comes up in a week, and we want to win it. Okay, perfect. So everything that we need to, like after every other goal, everything else kind of should help us to accomplish kind of this long-term goal, like winning OD, you know? So it gets a bit more clear when it comes to the middle. Like basically middle term is then, okay, for example, I can give you a good example in contenders. I cannot just draw all of this, so sorry for this, but yeah, contenders, for example, is every 4 weeks. So we have one tournament every 4 weeks. So our kind of long-term goal is winning, obviously, the tournament. Then the steps that I take as a coach, or that I have in my head at least, I'm not communicating this to my team, by the way, or at least not in this general steps. is okay. Like first week is always experimental because obviously, like after contenders tournament, there's mostly a patch for us. So we experiment a little bit what is going on with the meta, like what compositions are good, what styles, and so on. So maybe the first, or maybe even the first 2 weeks are more like experimenting, seeing what's going on and stuff like this. So yeah, point. That's it. And the second week or the third week is then more specific. Okay, like what comms do we want to play on which map? Maybe thinking also about a hero, like do we play Echo or Hanzo in this there, and so on. And then at the end, for example, the fourth week is always about for me as a coach scouting. So I especially take a look at the statistics that we make over the month, or I'm taking a look at the other teams in the scrims, like what style are they playing, and try to already get some scouting informations in this way. And also smaller things when we practice things like rollouts. On King of the Hill maps, we talk about like rollouts, and because obviously the first fight is super important, especially on King of the Hills. So we want to just like make sure that everybody's there on the same page. And it also like comes so far that, for example, against BH, a lot of times when we play there in the last weeks, we do like kind of rollout practice. So the first, we play a King of the Hill, and we reset the first fight five times. So you play the first fight, then you reset the map again, then again and again. We do this like 5 times on each map, and this is kind of just like our practice, how it adapts depending on the goal, which already kind of comes into the third category here, like short term. And I guess there are like 3 types of kind of goals that you have for each spin, which I guess all of you know is experimental, practice, and performance. Yeah. Performance scrims. So experimental scrum is, as I said at the start, you want to find something else. The goal is, maybe I can just also write it down here. The goal is to, but is this big enough? Should I make it bigger? Or can you read it?
I can read it okay.
Okay. So obviously the goal here is to get informations about, I don't know, helping us to make a decision. So are we a team that likes to play Brawl? Are we a team that likes to play the style? We don't know yet. Okay, so let's just try it out. The goal is not to win with this, but the goal is to have a better, more experience, better feeling also. Mostly it's followed up afterwards with a discussion. Or like you want to kind of answer yourself a question. So you want to answer yourself a question, and for this you need information. That's why you kind of experiment and use the scrum as this. So that's number 1. Then practice, I guess, is the most common or almost obvious thing. So obviously you want to improve on a certain thing, on a certain kind of communication, gameplay-wise, strategy. I don't know. You want to just like make it better. And the last one is performance. It's you want to win. Easy said. So like you just like the only thing you care about is that you win. You don't care what strategy like the team uses, or like basically they should play as they would play in a tournament. Try to kind of win all the games. Doesn't matter what happens. Doesn't matter what the enemy team is playing. Doesn't matter what we also practice. It's important. I feel like you should give them a certain amount of freedom in these cases to just make their own decisions, because in the tournament you're also not there. So but their goal is to win. Okay, let me just show here. Okay, like the next thing is like how to find these goals. I guess I can just. Nice, I can move it. Like I said, mousepad. I will just make it like this. I hope you can imagine what it means. So how to find these goals? Obviously, now we come into a subject which is super team depending. Like I cannot tell you like, hey, I don't know, do it this way or whatever, because I don't know what the team needs. I don't know like what they're struggling and so on. So my general answer for this would be it always goes from general into a specific, right? Like if we try to kind of look for goals. And really important here is the time factor. I talked before, like the first goal that you should think about is, okay, like what do we want to accomplish with the team? Like which tournament do we want to win? Like when do we have to be on our peak of our performance? And especially now, when I make the sessions, like OD is kind of coming up, and I ask them like, hey, what's your goal? And they tell me, yeah, we want to win OD. Then I'm not trying to focus as much on like things like, I don't know, super general things like communication or stuff like this, because like only if it's really, really necessary, only if it's like a big thing that holds them back. But yeah, like if obviously like if we're playing like if it's one day before the tournament, then your goal should not be let's make focus on fight plans, because can you really like is this really in one scrum fixed? If you say yes, then sure, great, okay, but maybe it should be better some some quick fixes, or maybe even some just play some scrims to feel more confident or stuff like this. I don't know, like depends especially what the team needs. So yeah, that means of depending on how much time you have to make more general goals, the less time you get, the goals get way more specific. And at the end, it's more really just like small fixes, like, hey, how about you go left, like this left side there instead of high ground because of this and this reason? And player says, yeah, okay, I understand, sure, I can do it. He goes for it. I don't know, like really some specific stuff. Also, one more thing I want to say about this is performance scrum. I think performance scrims are amazing to give you as a coach an idea what the team is struggling with. Because when you say, hey, we're making a performance scrum now, you just kind of play for winning. I also will not kind of like you should not even give some like much tips between the scrims. It's just more about like, hey, like you're almost like a cheerleader to them. Just say, hey, don't worry, keep going, or like, hey, we're doing great. Let's just focus on the next map. You guys think about the composition or like plan what you want to do if it's not already set, and we go next fight. It's literally like a tournament, and this kind of I think it's really great for you as a coach because you can see what is the team like, what do they like to play? Because if they, let's say you follow that, let's say you practice the whole time a full week, a more brawly strategy, and at the end of the week you have a performance scrum, and you tell them like, hey, you do everything to win, and then a team starts to play a more, I don't know, a different style because you have played this before so long, and it's kind of what they are comfortable with. Then you notice also as a coach, like, hey, look, they are still not confident enough on playing like this style that we practiced. They cannot still go back to the other one. And then you can obviously ask yourself, okay, why is this? Is it because we haven't scrimmed it now? Is it because, like, I don't know, whatever. Obviously, like, two things need to be happening there. Like, first of all, the team needs to recognize this is a kind of a performance scrum. So obviously, there's a big discussion about, like, hey, how can you make them win? So is it like, do they need an extra incentive? Maybe even, I don't know, you give each of them, I don't know, $1 or something. Like, this would be one version, but also like a thing, like if it's not just telling them, it's obviously hard to give them the same mindset. I would always say like try to kind of find a really good scrum where you say, hey, like this is a really, really good team. They want to scrim against us. Or like some way or another. I also don't have the best ideas, to be honest, like how to make them care. I think it's really player specific. I can give an example from our team. Like we sometimes have the opportunity to scrim Overwatch League teams, like especially London and Paris, obviously the European teams. And whenever we have like especially I think I don't know before like Overwatch League the June joust started, like we had like 2 scrim blocks with Paris prepared. And obviously in these scrim blocks, our players just like I don't even have to tell them to win. They don't care about anything else, just like to show them to win the duels, to like show especially the Overwatch League players, but also coaches like what they're capable of. So they immediately kind of just play the best of their abilities, and there I could immediately see like, okay, like it's kind of the true form of a player. You're not playing for getting better. You're playing just for like winning this stuff, like throwing everything in. And so like you can really see like, is he really confident being aggressive? Is he confident playing defensive? What happens if he plays against a good player? Like how is it to change his style and so on? And from there on, then maybe you can try to find like how to kind of take takeaways from there and incorporate this into your team strategy, or like obviously into your goals at the end of the day. Yeah, let me just the last part. Oh yeah, how to like the last thing, and then we can also start with a discussion, or you can ask questions, is how to control goals. No. On Pro, I don't need a quick tip. No. Okay. How to control goals. Let's talk about like individual first, like individual player or like whatever. I would always recommend make yourself a list of the things that you want to improve on. Like also especially if you do like, or like I mean from coach's perspective here, if you like have one-on-ones with a player, make sure that this player has like a list of things, best case written down. Some of them have it in their head, but I don't know, in their head it's always, we know it, like it get mixed up or you forget things. So I would recommend, I don't know, even make a Discord channel. Like I cannot really show it now. Okay, I cannot really show it, but like in my old, or like in HSL, for example, we had a channel for each player where we as a coach or like he himself kind of has his own list of things he need to improve on. And this helps a lot because in this way you can just easily also control yourself. Like, hey, you say like either like in a 1-on-1 or like also like you just talk with him, hey, feel like, I don't know, let's go back to the Hanzo thing. Like when you Hanzo, you just like spam your Sonic arrow without any meaning. You have to think about this a little bit more. Obviously, like you make it more specific. Like you want to give him specific points of improvements, not just like, hey, get better forward. But yeah, like this is kind of one thing I want you to improve on, or like you agree with the player, like, hey, this is something you can do better. So you put it on a list, and then he either like practices individually in ranked if it's possible, or like if it's more like a team related thing, then he tries to get better. And at the end of the week, or like I don't know, you just kind of shoot him a DM, or like maybe you talk with him 5 minutes, like, hey, do you think you improved on this? Or like the player does it himself, then you correct, like you put it out of the list, or you, I don't know, make a mark on it somehow in this way. So I think this is a great way to have like to control yourself when it comes to individual goals. Either you do it or like the player himself. And if it's about team goals, then of course you can do the same thing. You can also have a list. At some point, I actually used I don't know if you guys know Trello. Like it's like kind of a Kanban board. I don't even know if this is a German or the English word, but I hope you understand. Or like basically, it's kind of just have 3 different options where you have like a list of the tasks you have to do. Then in the middle you have kind of like what is in progress, and at the end you have a kind of a done list, and there you can just move things around. I like to use this at the start. Nowadays I'm also not using it anymore. I have it kind of again. It's actually bad to say because I have it in my head a little bit what we have to improve on, but best case again, like also write it down for yourself in one way or another. And obviously, like we Overwatch is not like a work and experience or stuff like this. It's like really like all players, like there are 6 individuals. It's not like a factory where you fix this one problem and then it will never come up again. But obviously, if you have kind of a little bit of a guideline on yourself, you know kind of what you want to work on. And especially when it comes to scrims, then you want to do at the end of the day, at the end of scrim, keep the players like for 2 more minutes or like 3 more minutes in the call, and everybody kind of gives their own opinion about like, hey, have we improved on this goal? Like, have we accomplished it? And if no, then why not? Don't make it as a half an hour discussion, like really like 2-3 minutes. So everybody kind of gives an opinion about it, and then you kind of know also like, hey, have we done it or have we not? And then obviously if we done it, yeah, sure, we just correct this, and next scrim we go with another one. Or if we have not done it, then we can just repeat it in next scrim, or maybe you have to make another audio about it because there's an understanding problem, and so on. Okay, just to summarize kind of everything a little bit here. I think it will be too small, but where's my mouse? Yeah. Maybe to summarize here a little bit. Second. Like, and also make it like the most practical. I think what you should do as a coach is to make sure that the team has kind of a goal that they work for, and they have like make sure that they have like this long-term goal that you have in your head, or like I don't know if you want to communicate this more like middle-term goal, like hey, like we first want to work on, I don't know, communication, then we work on more like gameplay-related things, then we work on map-specific things or whatever. And obviously for the team, like for the players that you have to communicate, is that you have like kind of a scrum goal. And what I kind of like to do, like 5 minutes before the scrum, you talk about them like, hey, what's the goal of today? Or you just ask them and they do it themselves. Like, I don't know how you want to manage this part. You ask them like, hey, what are we working today on? Like, make it as specific as possible. Don't say just, okay, work on our communication. This is a shit goal. Because like nobody, like, what does it mean? Like, what does it like, especially also if you say like, hey, we want to work on our communication, that we, I don't know, have better target focus, it's still shit, because then the worst player will say, yeah, I always call my target. I don't have to work on it, you know? So make it like, try to make sure that everybody has like there's their responsibilities. Like have responsibilities. Like really say like, hey, you, Hanzo player, have to do this, or like you do this. Obviously, if it's more general topic, like we need to always have a fight plan, then make sure that they know that only just because we have a fight planner, maybe he doesn't know it sometimes, or like I don't know, he just whatever that he forgets. Everybody is responsible for it. Make sure that they know, so that afterwards, when you kind of control it, or when you maybe also show it or listen to it together, they're not saying like, yeah, I'm just weirdo player, I don't have to make goals, you know? Like obviously it's just one example, but make sure that there's always that they really feel responsible for it, in one way or another. And if there obviously there are some topics where not everybody has to like has responsibilities, like for example, I don't know, engagement calls, like not the widow doesn't call the engagement. So then in this case, make sure that this person has an individual goal. Like, okay, today we work on, I don't know, communication from our engagements or whatever. So you, and you have to, you have all play a part. But now you, widow player, and I don't know, Lucio player, or like break or whatever, you don't like, it's obviously you don't have to say anything in this topic, or it's not your main goal. Then okay, break and widow, you work on individual things. Like widow, you work on, I don't know, whatever your aim. Oh no, it's a bad scrim for bad goal for scrim, because you can do this in ranked. I don't know, you have to work on your timing, whatever, and break on your I don't know, communication about armor packs or whatever, you know, give them an individual goal. Then in the game, in the scrim, we will talk about like what you have to do as a coach in scrims, or like what I think you have to do in the next lecture. So I will just kind of point out here a little bit is in the scrim, you basically just remind them, like you're not there to teach them in the scrim, it's just like you remind them what they have to do, especially in the like after map, and they talk about, I don't know, there's a discussion about the last fight, and yeah, we should have done this, or like, yeah, like our compass shit, whatever. Then obviously don't cut it out completely. Like sometimes you also have to just get it out, but make sure that before the next map starts, you kind of redirect them to like what is actually important. So yeah, this happens, and I agree with you. Okay, so for the next map, guys, remember like we want to work on our engagement timing. So I don't know, Winston, you're already doing it well, but make sure that you call more your engagements, or I don't know, and break your individual goal. Remember, you have to make your armor packs. Oh, like whatever, you know, like remind them. It's mostly the thing, reminding them, because if it goes back to like explaining them, it's a problem. You don't have like half an hour between the map. You have like, I guess, tops 5 minutes. Obviously, you can take your time. It's not like, yeah, we have to scrim like, I don't know, like without pause. But scrims are for playing, not for explaining. So your goal is to remind them, and then afterwards, you just make sure, like you kind of control a little bit, and you ask them like, hey, have we accomplished the goal or not? So so is it done? Like, do the players think we have done it? Obviously, you give your own opinion also about it, but make sure that they get their experience, their opinion about this, and basically as a group, like just 5 minutes, you decide for yourself, hey, do we need to keep working on this, or is this like, okay, it doesn't have to be perfect all the time, but is it like, for example, you know, communication on fight plan doesn't have to be like super perfect every time, but is it good enough that we can work on on another topic, you know? Like if it's so bad that we cannot work on, I don't know, communicating a strategy, because we never talk about fight plans at all, then obviously you cannot work, it doesn't make sense to kind of work on strategies or so whatever, you know? So this kind of depends a little bit on the situation and on how good it has to be. But yeah, that's kind of what you ask yourself, or like ask also the team. And then depending on this, you already have your goal for the next scrum. Okay, perfect. I talked now a lot, so this is kind of everything so far about the goal setting. Let's start with some questions. Do you guys have any questions about the last half an hour that I discussed?
So I'm thinking more of how to get myself used to setting goals, like maybe more like player specific goals. Say for like myself, right? If I wanted to set a goal for myself, I know I tend to struggle with my amp usage because I'm a Lucio player mainly. And differentiating between ranked amp usage and team setting amp usage.
Yeah.
I tend to work best if I can put numbers on it, right? Like let's say I only have I want to aim to only have 2 shit amps this scrim, and then I slowly
Yeah.
work that number down. Is that like a good idea, or do you think you should just aim for none at all instead? Or do
So
you,
the question is basically like, how do you control yourself that you do it, or like, what is the kind of the question out of there?
I guess it's, do you recommend just setting the bar high or working your way down typically?
Oh,
Or when do you kind of recommend that for, or is it like player, like person specific, and how would I identify that?
I mean, I think you shouldn't like never put it too low. I think like having it like I would always be saying like it should put it more on the higher end. Obviously, don't say like it has to be like 100% perfect. But generally speaking, I would go say and make it a higher end. I mean, how the like the thing is also about like this individual thing is like mostly you kind of self-review or like somehow you get the idea, okay, I need to improve on this part, on this like amp usage, you know? And then obviously you say, okay, now I'm working on this amp usage. And then at the end of the day, somehow you should control yourself or somebody else controls you or whatever, like, you know? And one way of kind of controlling yourself is you can make it like this. You go into your game where you practice it or like, you know, in the replay viewer, double speed and only look at all the amp usage that you use. And then kind of put them in 3 categories. Like 1 is good, 2 is neutral, and 3 is bad. And then you just literally make marks that you say, okay, here, bad, this situation was bad, and again, and so on. And obviously neutral, like neutral just means, sorry, yeah?
And the same thing would work for my players, I'm assuming, yeah.
Generally speaking, the same thing can, I guess, also work for your players, like as a team. That you like, I mean, depends a little bit on the goal, right? Like if you make, I guess, yeah, no, I haven't really thought about it, but I guess yeah, sure. Like, also about team goals, you can do the same. If you say like, hey, we always want to have a fight plan, then you just kind of, I don't know, double speed for each, like, and just control control kind of, hey, do we have a fight plan? Yes, and you make good, neutral, or bad. Like neutral just always means it's not possible. Like I don't know, there was a huge long fight, or I don't know, like make it like M speed. I always like to use the example of like, you know, your goal is to work on natural cover, and on the left side was May ult, on the right side was a Diva bomb. Okay, like you're fucked anyway. It says, you know, just put a neutral, like there was nothing. You couldn't really play with natural cover in this moment. And just to like finish the point here. And then at the end of the day, you look at, for example, the bad parts and say, hey, I want to be better. Like I want to have like more or less than 25%, less than 15% of all the situations from this scrim should be bad amps. And obviously the big question is like, is it 50%, 25%? I don't know. Like this is kind of how you have to set it for your own. If you say 15 or like 20, but yeah. And depending on this, you have to keep improving it or not. But yeah, to kind of to answer the question, or like the answer to the question is like, I would always set it a little bit higher than this. Or you just make different steps. You say like, hey, if you want to be better with your nades, okay, like first step, I need to always hit my nades. Second, like work on this first, make sure that this is kind of done. Then the next step is I need to have the good timing, and then I don't know, somewhere else. Like I don't, yeah, I guess obviously like all of this whole topic here is super subjective. Like everybody needs to do their own. Like this is also just an example of this. Like, you know, 1, 2, 3. One way of control yourself. I guess there are multiple other ways to control yourself, but this is kind of what I personally use. Try it out if it works for you or for your team, or maybe you have a different idea. Maybe also like later discussion, the others also have an idea about this. Yeah. Okay. Does it answer the question?
Yeah, that was really good. Thanks.
Perfect. Any other questions? No questions about all the things that we said about goals and stuff. I mean, I guess it's good if you have no question and I explain it hopefully well. No? Okay, it doesn't look like no questions. Then yeah, I mean, basically the discussion as last time. I just also like I'm really interested, to be honest, also about your experiences. To maybe also I can maybe again like maybe I can also like forgot something, or maybe somebody has a different way of doing things, and maybe it's like this amazing, but nobody heard about it. So that's why basically I want to like to tell you a little bit how you think about this whole topic of goal settings, or goal setting, or like I mean obviously all of the topics here. Like, does somebody want to share kind of his perspective? Like, how do you know what your team is should work on? How do you control it? Like all of the kind of topics that I talked about. So anybody wants to share kind of his opinion or how?
Sure. My team usually does it like this, that well, I'm the team captain, so I
Yeah.
usually set the goal for us for like the scrim and the general goal for the week. And then after each scrim, we each take like two things, one thing that went bad and one thing that went good, and then we just speak about it after the scrim.
Okay. The first question after, like, how do you set this goals? Like, how do you say like this is our weekly goal or this is our scrum goal?
Well, of course, I take into account what our coach says as well. But if he doesn't give us a specific goal, I usually orient myself around past experiences. So, like, what did we majorly fuck up last scrim? What do we need to improve from what I've seen?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I mean, obviously makes complete. I mean, if it again like if it works for you, like who might just say like this is bad? Maybe like one thing comes into my head when you do this thing is it's obviously a bit subjective, right? Like if you think like, okay, what was wrong last scrim? Maybe it was something. Maybe it was something that was emotionally really devastating. Like I don't know, we got rolled, or so we really focus now on our like we focus on the cause of the problem, not of the root. You know, if you make this in this is like, I could imagine at least. Like I don't really want to tell you like what to do. It's my opinion that we think about, okay, why we got rolled last time? Okay, because our double shield is bad. But maybe it's not a double shield. It's more like I don't know, the communication around it, or like people have different understandings how to play. You know, maybe your team is really good in this, and so obviously like how to I don't know how to prevent this would maybe I don't know how can you prevent this. Anybody has an idea? I guess I don't want to just say review it more deeply, but I don't know. Maybe also my thought doesn't make so much sense, but
I see what you mean, I think.
yeah. And I had another question, but I forgot. Was something like you said, like you have this, you make this goals, and then you just scrim it. There was something else you said at the end.
Yeah, after the scrim, each player
Yeah.
basically picks out one thing that they think went really good in the scrim, and then one thing that they think went badly in the scrim, and then we talk about the things.
Okay. I'm really curious here about this. A little bit of a reality check. Like, how good does it work? Because obviously, like I do this lecture, and I think this is like in my head at least. I think this is a really good way. But I mean, I have to be honest with you guys. Like, I'm also not doing exactly like this all the time. Like, like even when I coach my team, like of course it's like you can say a lot, but how is it in reality? So especially this, everybody kind of talks about kind of the last thing and have like put some points. I mean, you always have players, right, who like don't really like to talk, or then like don't find a good thing is also a bit big of the thing. Like, I don't know, like, how's your experience about this? Like, does it really work for you well that everybody gives always their opinion, or is there always kind of just the two guys who talk for half an hour then? Or like, how does it work?
Well, sometimes, of course, people just can't come up with anything. That happens. But usually, it's like not always the same two guys talking. It's pretty diverse. Everyone says something at some point, and yeah.
Yeah, no, that's great. I think that's really great if you have like this dynamic. Yeah, like for example, it's also the same. Like for me, like my flex support, I always have to ask them. For everything, like for his opinion, everything. You know, everybody says, yeah, like this or this. I always have to ask them. Like, I guess also the problem of him, like all of us, I guess 99% of all of us obviously do everything remote, so you cannot see the different persons. So if you would be all in the same room, I guess you have a better sense of like, hey, is this guy agreeing, or is he like even listening? So I feel like I try to do it a lot. I know it's like sounds super or is annoying to players especially, but I feel like it's worth it to like just ask them a lot to give feedback in a way of like, hey, did you understood this? Then I want everybody to say yes, even though it's like it feels like kindergarten, you know. But I feel like it's the only way for me to first of all know that they're still here, and also know that they actually understood it. So yeah. Okay. Anybody else wants to share kind of his opinion about this whole subject? No? Nobody wants to tell some stories or has a different way of approaching this? No? Okay. I mean, I cannot force you. Then yeah, I guess there's nothing more. So you want to know about this stuff, or like about like, I mean, again, like about my opinion about this stuff, I guess. We end it here. Last chance. No? Okay. Great. Then yeah, it was nice to talk about this, and obviously it's also always great, you know, to hold my like look into a mirror, like how am I actually doing these things? This is kind of my expectations, how I'm accomplishing this, and again, make a reality check. Not everything that I said here is obviously scientific proven or whatever. Make sure like that you use the things that work for you. I think especially try it out, see if it sticks. You know, especially with this what I wrote here with this good, neutral, bad. Some players, some teams love to do it. Some players just don't. It doesn't help them, doesn't work for them. Then of course, yeah, don't. But yeah, just I mean, I don't want to talk more, so that's just what I want to say. Okay, great. Then yeah, I have nothing more to say. Then thank you a lot for coming, and we see us next week where we talk more about Scrum specific, or like how to. I think let me double check what was the next goal. But I know next lecture. I know like one point, one subject was about like what to do in the scrums, like how to actually lead scrums. Again, obviously, just again my opinion. I'm just scrolling up in our chat, Mecca. If you can find it faster. Oh, here I have it. The next lecture on the next week is all about topic of how to prepare what to use, or like what I do when I prepare what to use. Obviously, also how I do them. I include, by the way, 101s in this topic. But yeah, this would be the third lecture, and the fourth then is kind of how to do live coaching or coaching during a scrum and all of this stuff. All right. Then yeah, I have nothing to say. Then I guess see you in a week.
All right, thank you.
Thank
See
you
you,
very much.
Thor.
It's a very good lecture.
Yeah,
Have fun at the beach.
no problem. Yeah, thank you. All right, bye bye.
Bye.